Welcome to the deep dive. You know how this works. You send us the most challenging source material on a topic you need to get your head around, and we get into the weeds to pull out what really matters.
And today, we're not just looking at, a small tweak in military doctrine.
No, not at all. We are looking at a proposal for a total architectural revolution, right at the tactical level.
It's way more than just a blueprint for a new unit. I'd almost call it a philosophical document about how warfighting changes fundamentally when you bring in advanced AI and serious computation power right onto the battlefield.
And the learner who sent this white paper our way, they really wanted to get to the core mechanics of this proposed combined arms motorized battalion.
Yep, and it's a concept that really forces you to throw out your old ideas about what a battalion headquarters even does.
It really does. We're talking about taking what is traditionally a maneuver headquarters, right?
Yeah.
Something that coordinates movement and fires.
And turning it to something completely different.
Exactly. The paper calls it a critical C5ISR node.
And just to break that down for everyone, that's command, control, communications, computers, cyber, and then intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance.
And on top of all that, an edge compute node.
That really is the mission in a nutshell.
Yeah.
It's about decentralizing the execution, letting the companies on the front line fight, but centralizing the cognitive processing.
You're offloading the cognitive burden.
Completely. That burden would just crush a forward-deployed company in a modern, data-saturated conflict. So the battalion HQ, it becomes the mechanism that shoulders that massive analytical load.
And the thing that just leaps off the page for me is the proposed solution to that information overload.
Those machine-to-machine orders.
The machine-to-machine micro orders. You're moving away from slow, fallible human communication and replacing it with something autonomous. Something designed specifically to let your own units operate at a speed that just blows past the enemy's decision cycle.
Their OTA loop, yeah. Observation, orientation, decision, action.
Yeah.
You're operating inside their loop. You weaponize speed.
That's a great way to put it. So over the next 40 minutes or so, we're going to meticulously unpack this white paper.
We'll look at the organization, the specific functional innovations,
Yeah.
How those machine-to-machine orders actually work.
And maybe most importantly, the pretty radical training requirements you'd need to actually staff one of these high-tech battalions.
It's a total transition. The unit goes from being a simple coordinating body to being the true brain and logistical core for all its maneuver companies.
Okay, so let's start with the why. This shift it's drastic. It's got to be expensive. You're retooling doctrine, training, equipment, everything. Why is this even necessary? Why can't a traditional battalion staff just handle the modern environment?
Because the environment itself has fundamentally changed. The modern operating space, it's defined by two factors that basically make the legacy command structures obsolete.
Okay.
Ubiquitous sensors and truly astronomical data volumes. Just think about it. A standard battalion staff, the officers, the NCOs, and the command post, they cannot possibly manually process the sheer flood of data. I mean, we're talking real-time telemetry, signal intercepts, dozens of drone video feeds, ground sensor data, all of it coming in at the same time.
So the problem isn't a lack of information, it's the opposite. It's a tsunami of it.
Exactly. And if you're trying to process that manually, the enemy's already making their next move. They're operating inside your decision cycle because you're just too slow.
So this proposed battalion is essentially a high-speed data management solution that happens to wear a military uniform.
That's a perfect way to put it. A standard staff. I mean, they might process a few dozen critical pieces of intel in an hour, maybe. This new battalion is designed to process gigabytes, maybe terabytes of data per hour. It has to be an information node first and a headquarters second.
It manages the flood so the company commanders don't drown in it.
That's it. Which brings us to the two core services it has to provide. The first is what the source material brilliantly calls C5ISR as a service.
Okay, C5ISR as a service. What does that mean in practical terms on the ground?
It means connectivity is no longer just an add-on or an afterthought. It is the central capability of the battalion. It acts as the primary information node for its companies.
So it's managing the network.
It's managing a very advanced network, a high-bandwidth, highly resilient mesh network. This isn't just a standard military radio net. This system demands, cutting-edge commercial and military tech all integrated together.
And what kind of specific technologies are they talking about here to handle that kind of data throughput?
Well, to manage the volume from hundreds of simultaneous high-density sensor streams and autonomous platform controls, they specify things that are normally managed way higher up the chain.
Like what?
Things like dedicated 5G capabilities, using specialized high-capacity spectrum, connectivity through specialty satellites for resilient, beyond line-of-sight communication, and robust upper TI capabilities.
Upper TI.
Yeah, the highest layers of the tactical internet, the part that manages the whole information architecture.
Wait a minute, though. That sounds incredibly complex
Yeah.
and vulnerable. Doesn't pushing that level of advanced network infrastructure down to a tactical battalion
Yeah.
just create a massive electronic signature that the enemy can find and hit immediately?
And that is the critical tension. You are absolutely right. It creates a high-value, high-signature target, but the whole reason you do it is driven by one thing: latency.
Speed.
Speed. If a forward company has to send its sensor data all the way up to the division, or even core, which could be hundreds of kilometers away, and then wait for processing, wait for the AI modeling, and then wait for the decision to come all the way back down.
It's too late. The target is gone.
The whole process takes way too long. Latency is death when the enemy is maneuvering autonomously. So the battalion has to accept that risk, that high signature, to gain the speed advantage. Milliseconds matter.
So it becomes the key integrator for the whole tactical network.
Exactly. And that provides the essential connectivity layer that allows the second, and I would argue more radical innovation, to even function.
Which is edge compute at the tactical level.
This is where it feels like a real paradigm shift. We're talking about processing power. The kind of stuff traditionally reserved for a core or division HQ being pushed right down to a battalion.
It's a truly radical concept because it just challenges the military's whole hierarchical data structure. Historically, raw data flows up, it gets processed centrally, and then decisions flow back down.
Right.
This flips that. The battalion has to process locally because the sheer volume of data makes centralized processing totally impossible within the required time frame.
And what kind of volume are we talking about, really?
The paper gives a pretty stunning detail to justify this. Each one of these combined arms companies, they're employing over 1,500 sensors
1,500
per company.
per company.
Yeah.
So you multiply that across 4 companies, and you've got 6,000 unique, constantly updating streams of data imagery, telemetry, signals, location data, all flooding the network at once.
6,000 streams. For one battalion, I mean, no human staff could ever manually parse that. It's just an ocean of information.
Impossible.
So what's the physical manifestation of this? How does this edge compute power actually look on the battlefield?
We're definitely not talking about a few ruggedized laptops. The white paper is very specific. It calls for maintaining clusters of blade servers within the battalion headquarters and headquarters company, the HHC.
Blade servers, so high-density modular computing units, basically. But that raises a whole bunch of logistical questions.
Like power and cooling.
Exactly. Running a server cluster generates immense heat, and it needs a ton of reliable, sustained power. That's incredibly hard to secure at the tactical edge, especially if you're 15 or 20 kilometers from the main fight.
You've hit on the major engineering challenge. This battalion has to prioritize power generation and thermal management just as highly as it does its own security. And these servers, they're not just running Word and PowerPoint.
No, I'd imagine not.
They are dedicated to running specific, very complex AI algorithms, machine learning for real-time object recognition, automated threat prioritization, predictive logistics modeling. It's heavy-duty stuff.
So the goal isn't just data management, it's insight generation. The computer takes those 6,000 sensor feeds and turns them into, 60 actionable targets? Or 6 critical logistical tasks, all without a human having to filter it first.
That's precisely it. This server cluster makes the battalion the functional processing core. Its whole purpose is high-speed sensor fusion, taking all those inputs and turning them into a coherent, actionable picture right now. And that is the only thing that enables the machine-to-machine tasking that defines this new way of fighting. Without that power pushed down, the company is just overwhelmed, blind, and slow.
Okay, so now we get the doctrinal need for this computational engine. Let's look at the actual architecture. How is this combined arms motorized battalion physically structured to support that C5ISR role?
The structure is very clearly designed around sustaining high-intensity combat, what the doctrine calls LSCO, or large-scale combat operations.
Right.
So the paper assumes this kind of cyclical operational model. You're probably running with 3 companies actively engaged on the line, and 1 company is in a reset or refit phase to maintain that continuous pressure.
And those four combined arms motorized companies, each about 150 people, they're the ones actually doing the fighting, the find, fix, and finish elements.
They are, but they're essentially just leveraging the battalion's processing power to make their own local decisions faster and better.
So if the companies are the hands and feet, then the battalion headquarters and headquarters company, the HHC, it's the brain and the nervous system.
Unquestionably. And this HHC is vastly more complex than a traditional headquarters. It's the C2 and compute hub. It's where the staff lives, where the C5ISR architecture lives, and where those critical AI processing nodes we just talked about are physically located.
Which means that HHC is an exponentially higher value target than a normal battalion command post. I mean, it's a single point of failure for the entire system's tempo.
It is. And that reality dictates a very deliberate security plan. The paper tries to balance proximity, it needs to be close enough to the fight, with protection from the enemy's best precision weapons.
So where'd they put it?
The recommended operating location is about 15 to 25 kilometers from the FLOT, the forward line of owned troops.
15 to 25 kilometers. That's a pretty significant distance for real-time tactical control. It feels like they're prioritizing the survivability of the compute node over, the commander being able to see the front line with his own eyes.
Exactly, because the eyes of the command post are no longer the commander's binoculars. The eyes are the 6,000 sensor feeds being processed by the AI.
Okay. So how do they protect it?
It's a multi-layered plan. First, survivability through disaggregation, spreading out key functions so they're not all in one basket, and using hardened structures.
So existing buildings, basements.
Exactly. Basements, fortified shelters, or anything that can provide some physical protection from high explosive rounds.
But what about electronic detection? I mean, anything running high bandwidth 5G and clusters of servers is going to light up the electromagnetic spectrum like a Christmas tree.
It will, and that's where the organic self-protection measures have to come in. The source is clear that the HHC must be protected by its own dedicated electronic warfare, or EW, capabilities.
To mask its signature.
To mask its signature, confuse enemy signals intelligence, and actively disrupt their reconnaissance and targeting drones. And on top of that, they need tactical air defense assets, stuff specialized for protecting a fixed, high-value site from low-altitude threats like loitering munitions or attack helicopters.
So the organization literally includes dedicated support systems just to keep the processor, the HHC, alive. It's a completely inverted concept of protection.
It is, and it confirms the HHC's status as the decisive point. If the HHC goes down, the companies revert to slow, human-only C2, and they immediately lose their tempo advantage. The whole system grinds to a halt.
Okay, let's talk logistics. The Forward Support Company, the FSC, is also completely reconceptualized. If the operational tempo is this high, traditional, reactive logistics, it would just collapse.
It would. The logistics architecture has to match the velocity of the command architecture. And that's a massive shift from the old pull system, where a company commander radios in and asks for supplies, to a proactive, tech-driven push system.
So walk us through what's so innovative about this FSC.
The whole system is built around automation and predictive modeling. The big one is that the FSC is structured around using autonomous leader-follower convoys.
So self-driving trucks, basically.
Pretty much. You have logistics vehicles that use sophisticated sensors and GPS to follow a single manned-led vehicle, or eventually a completely unmanned platform.
Which dramatically reduces the risk to personnel. Those long logistics trains are incredibly vulnerable.
Hugely. But it's also about the structure of the logistics points themselves. The predictive modeling allows the FSC to anticipate demand before the company even knows it needs something.
They're not waiting for a radio call.
They're not. The AI has modeled the fuel consumption based on the terrain and the current op. It's modeled the ammunition expenditure based on the targeting solutions it just generated, and it automatically creates the push-based logistics order.
So the FSC can maintain this continuous, regulated flow of supplies instead of these big, periodic resupply efforts that are really easy for the enemy to spot and hit.
Exactly. The supply chain moves from being reactive to being predictive. And it's all driven by the data being processed by the HHC's edge compute node. The whole organization is now just one big ecosystem designed to support that machine-driven tempo.
Okay, so we've got the why and the what, the architecture. Now we get to the how. You said earlier that the battalion manages 3 functions that would otherwise crush a forward unit. Let's dig into those, starting with the most fascinating one. Machine-to-machine mission command.
This really is the core revolutionary concept here. It goes way beyond just sending a digital message or a status update. The battalion's primary output is it's explicitly engineered to bypass human intervention in those critical high-speed moments.
We're talking about those optimized machine-to-machine micro orders.
Right. Immediate executable instructions passed directly from the battalion AI node to the company's integrated systems, their vehicles, their drones, their fire control systems.
Which implies a huge shift in the role of the company commander. I mean, if the AI is handling the optimization, the commander is suddenly relieved of a huge amount of procedural work.
Absolutely. Think about the traditional burden. Staffs go through the MDMP, the military decision-making process. It's a detailed, multi-step process, intel review, course of action development, war gaming, writing these incredibly detailed orders.
It's thorough, but it's slow.
It's very slow. The machine command system streamlines that drastically. The AI runs variations of the MDMP constantly in the background, using that real-time sensor fusion.
So it's modeling the battlefield, calculating probabilities.
Predicting enemy actions, figuring out optimal counter moves, and essentially generating these pre-vetted, optimized tasks and playbooks that get passed directly down.
So the human commander still gets the big picture OPORD, the operations order, or a short FRIGO, a fragmentary order. They get the objective and the intent.
Correct. The commander is still in charge. They retain the authority, the moral decision-making. But the company system gets the granular how and when, the precise execution data. The system handles the impossible task of real-time synchronization.
Let's make this real. Let's talk about the specific scenario the white paper uses to illustrate this, the deception example. This is a real aha moment for me.
It's a perfect example because it shows the massive operational security benefit you get from this.
Okay, set the scene.
All right, so imagine higher echelon intel identifies an enemy MILDEC, a military deception operation. The enemy is making a big, aggressive show of force at our company A.
That's a feint.
It's a feint. They're trying to draw our resources, our fires, our logistical attention, our reserves, away from where they're really going to attack, which is company B.
Now, in a traditional system, the battalion commander figures this out and has to get on the radio and tell company A, hey, stop shooting so much, stop asking for fuel, just hold your ground.
And that is exactly where the human element breaks your operational security. A verbal radio call can be intercepted. A digital message can be flagged by enemy cyber assets. But even more critically, the logistical patterns, the sudden lack of ammo requests, the canceled fuel convoys that immediately tells the enemy that you've spotted their feint. Logisticians are human. They talk. Hey, why'd they cut Company A's ammo supply?
The enemy sees that and their deception is blown, but the machine command structure, it just bypasses all of that.
Completely. The battalion AI models the necessary counter-deception. And instead of a high-level human command, the AI issues machine instructions directly to companies' integrated systems.
And what are those instructions like? Are they complex?
They're exquisitely precise. The instruction might be something like, for the next 90 minutes, reduce fuel consumption rate to 85% of model standard engagement rate and limit ammunition expenditure to 10 rounds per minute per primary weapon system.
It's numerical. It's instantaneous. It goes right to the vehicle's diagnostic systems and the logistics apps.
And the effect is, the company appears to still be in an aggressive fight because the rate doesn't just drop to zero. But they aren't actually burning through resources.
And more importantly, there's no human chatter, no friction, no observable logistical tells that tip off the enemy. The machine protects the secret.
It's the weaponization of operational security, and you achieve it through automated command. It's a profound difference.
That's a perfect lead-in to the second key function, integrated logistics and predictive sustainment. This requires the AI to ingest a completely different kind of data than what we think of as intelligence.
This is where the true power of those 6,000 sensors really comes into play. The compute node isn't just looking for enemy targets, it's ingesting all the parametric data from your own assets.
Parametric data.
The physical health of every piece of equipment and every soldier. We're talking about remote monitoring on a scale that was unimaginable before at this level.
So give me some specific examples.
The white paper gets pretty detailed here. They list things like UAV, motor temperatures detecting microvibrations or overheating that indicates a bearing is about to fail.
Okay.
UGV, unmanned ground vehicle transmission wear through constant diagnostic reporting. And this is a really wild one. Even soldier biometrics, monitoring heart rates, stress levels, fatigue markers through wearable tech.
So the battalion headquarters, 15 kilometers away, has a real-time health dashboard for every single system and every single person in the fight.
And what the AI does with that massive amount of maintenance data is what's key. It enables the predictive modeling that completely relieves the company commander of sustainment planning.
It's anticipatory maintenance.
Exactly. It doesn't wait for a maintenance request. It detects the failure window before the system even starts to degrade.
Okay, so how does that translate into an actual task?
Let's use a specific example from the source material. The system detects an issue and triggers an autonomous microorder for maintenance.
This is the one with the drones managing themselves?
That's the one. The AI analyzes the collective UAV motor temperatures and flight hours across the whole fleet. It then issues a microorder. Your systems report 15 drones will experience motor failure due to vibration fatigue in the next 20 hours. They will now autonomously adjust their flight plan and return to the FSC maintenance point for automated component replacement.
And that instruction is triggered by the AI, sent directly to the drone's guidance systems, and it just happens.
It just happens. The company commander never has to divert attention or resources or human brainpower to counting his working drones or scheduling maintenance. The system manages its own operational readiness.
It's a fundamental workload transfer. The company commander is freed from the supply chain, the maintenance log. Their focus can be purely on the tactical fight. That's a huge force multiplier.
It is. It reduces friction in a way that's hard to overstate in high-intensity combat.
So the third key function is where all this computational power translates directly into lethal advantage: targeting and effects synchronization.
Right. This centers on the enhanced capabilities of the operations and intelligence, the O&I element within the HHC. Because the HHC is ingesting all 6,000 sensor feeds from all 4 companies at once, it can fuse intelligence on a scale that's just impossible for a decentralized staff.
So it moves beyond simple intelligence analysis into, what, algorithmic prioritization?
That's it. This is where the AI tuning capability becomes so important. The battalion's compute power allows the commander to tune the AI's targeting priorities based on their overall intent. You're not just giving it a static priority list, you're telling the AI how to weigh targets in its predictive modeling.
How does that tuning work in practice? If the situation on the ground changes fast, how does the commander adjust the entire system's focus?
So imagine the commander sees an opportunity to shatter the enemy's command structure. They can go to their console and just adjust the parameters. They might decrease the priority score for, say, armored vehicles in formation, and increase the priority score for detected C2 emitters in hardened structures by 30%.
And the AI just instantly recalculates everything based on that new weighting.
Instantly. So if the commander's strategic guidance shifts from breaking the enemy's spearhead to, decapitating their leadership, the AI immediately changes its scoring and starts recommending C2 nodes as the highest priority targets for any available assets.
The source mentions it can shift priorities from vehicles to C2 to even individual personnel signatures.
It can. And this rapid algorithmic tuning ensures that your limited weapons are always being applied to create multiple simultaneous dilemmas for the enemy.
This focus on speed is really driven home with the kinetic synchronization of swarm attacks. The coordination required for this seems physically impossible for a human command post.
It is functionally impossible for humans to do it at this tempo. This is the natural outcome of that machine-to-machine architecture. The battalion's AI node coordinates all the company-level UAS, assets, drones, loitering munitions, recon platforms to maintain constant custody on maybe 30 to 40 targets across the entire area at the same time.
That alone is impressive. 40 active targets being watched by decentralized assets. But the strike itself?
The AI manages the entire sequence: target acquisition, deconfliction, asset allocation, engagement authorization, and then it orders a mass synchronized strike within an astonishing 30-second window.
30 seconds. From decision to impact across dozens of targets using assets that are kilometers apart. How is that even possible?
It relies on advanced networking protocols and the AI's ability to negotiate resource allocation instantaneously. There is no 5-minute human cycle of requesting, approving, and confirming fires. The machine models a successful strike, ensures all the platforms are ready, and issues the synchronized go command at a single microsecond. The enemy never has time to react.
It's tactical shock and paralysis.
It is. And then they integrate one last concept that moves beyond just physical destruction: non-kinetic integration.
Aiming for the psyche of command.
An inspired concept. The AI compute node can simultaneously direct that physical swarm attack and an information attack.
So what does that look like?
It might involve broadcasting a specific, tailored message through hijacked local networks or directional emitters. Something like, "We've identified your commander and are now targeting all enemy personnel."
So you feel the physical impact of the swarm strike, which confirms you're vulnerable, and then you immediately get a message confirming the strategic intent of that strike,
Right.
that your leadership is gone.
The goal is cognitive collapse. By compounding the physical chaos with a tailored information attack, you're aiming to break the enemy's decision-making cycle completely. You're not just destroying equipment, you're actively trying to shatter their morale and will to fight.
Okay, to really bring this all home, let's draw a clear line between this proposed unit and a standard battalion. The contrast in the white paper it's really illuminating.
Yeah, let's do a kind of rapid-fire comparison. But let's expand on the implications of each difference. It's not just a feature list. It shows why this is a revolution, not an upgrade.
Sounds good. Let's start with the fundamental primary role. What's the core difference in mindset?
A standard infantry battalion is a maneuver headquarters. Its job is to synchronize its companies and, critically, to request assets from higher up.
It requests logistics, requests intel, requests fires.
Right. The proposed battalion is a C5ISR, edge compute, and logistics hub. Its job is to provide data, C2, and sustainment to its companies. It's a shift from being a supplicant to being a centralized service provider.
That completely changes the commander's decision-making. Okay, next, compute power.
Standard battalions use basic staff planning tools. Digital maps, spreadsheets, they compute plans. The proposed battalion has organic clusters of blade servers for AI and real-time sensor fusion. They compute reality and predict the future.
A huge gap, which leads directly to mission command.
Standard command is human to human. OPORDs, free Joes, complex radio calls that take time. The proposed mission command is machine-to-machine micro orders and AI-generated playbooks. It bypasses human delay, bias, and error in the critical execution phase.
The logistics system also completely flips sustainment.
Standard sustainment is pull-based. The FSC gives you stuff when you ask for it after you already need it. The new battalion has predictive push-based logistics. It's remotely monitoring everything and using autonomous convoys to anticipate needs hours in advance.
And finally, targeting.
A standard staff synchronizes attached assets. It asks for artillery and waits in a queue. The proposed battalion fuses all its own company sensors, tunes its own AI targeting, and synchronizes its own swarm attacks. It's the architect of the effect, not just the coordinator.
The gap is just enormous. They're almost two completely different types of organizations. So given all that radical technological complexity, the servers, the AI, the mesh networks, we have to talk about the people. The paper says that while the AI relieves the cognitive load on the company commander,
the technical and cognitive load on the battalion staff, the people running that C5ISR hub, is substantially higher.
Right. I mean, you're not just training soldiers anymore. You're training network engineers, data scientists, and systems administrators who can also operate under fire.
The demand on the C5, the intel, and the logistics staff is just immense. They have to understand, maintain, and troubleshoot this incredibly complex information ecosystem while the bullets are flying.
So the proposal introduces what it calls a counterintuitive training pipeline, inverting the traditional training path. How does that actually work?
Traditionally, you go to a basic schoolhouse, then you go to a company to do basic tasks, and only after years of experience do you end up on a complex battalion staff.
Right.
This model completely flips that. New personnel, especially in those technical staff roles, would get on-the-job training, OJT, first at the battalion level.
Wait, that seems really risky. You're putting the least experienced people in charge of the most critical, high-tech part of the whole operation.
It seems backwards, I know. But the core complexity of this whole new formation is the battalion HHC. They need to understand the why and the how of the C5ISR and Compute Hub before they're sent to a forward company to execute its outputs.
Ah, I see. So if you start at the company, you're just reacting to the machine's micro orders. You don't understand the system that's generating them.
You don't understand network resiliency or AI tuning or data flow. But if you learn how the engine works first, how to maintain it, how to tune it,
Then you're much better prepared to drive the high-performance race car, the company.
precisely, you develop system literacy. So when you get to the company, you can leverage the system's advantages, and you're better equipped to troubleshoot when things inevitably go wrong.
This sounds less like traditional military training and more like a professional certification model.
It is. The source points out that this needs a doctrinal shift, similar to what the Navy or Coast Guard does for, say, nuclear reactors or advanced radar systems. The job is so technical that OJT and constant recertification become the norm.
And the rationale for institutionalizing OJT over the old schoolhouse model makes perfect sense, doesn't it? The technology changes so fast.
It's the only way. A traditional schoolhouse can't keep pace. If the AI algorithms are updated every quarter, or the satellite network tech changes every 18 months, a formalized 10-year-old curriculum is useless. OJT bakes in adaptability.
It suggests a huge long-term investment in these highly specialized people. You're not just training a soldier, you're creating a specialist technician who also happens to carry a rifle.
That's the reality. The cost to recruit, train, and retain these people will be immense. But that cost is deemed essential to get the speed and lethality that this whole architecture provides. So let's just summarize what we've unpacked here today. The core conclusion of this whole proposal is that the Combined Arms Motorized Battalion, it's no longer a maneuver headquarters. It transitions into the essential technological enabler for that legal, low-signature, decentralized company.
It's a technological buffer. It absorbs the immense cognitive and computational load of the modern battlefield, the sensor fusion, the AI modeling, the predictive logistics, and it frees its companies to just operate. Their mission becomes pure execution, unburdened by all that friction.
And the ultimate advantage this all delivers is the weaponization of tempo. Through those instantaneous machine-to-machine micro-orders and the autonomous orchestration of swarm attacks and sustainment, the battalion synchronizes effects at a speed that is just unachievable by any human-only C2 structure.
It becomes the decisive node just by being the fastest processor on the field. That ability to constantly model reality and act inside the enemy's decision loop, it fundamentally redefines information superiority.
It operationalizes it, automating that last, most critical mile of the decision-making process.
But if we step all the way back and think about the final implications, the philosophical shift, it raises a really profound question about leadership, doesn't it?
It does. The tension between man and machine.
If the primary command output is machine-to-machine micro orders and the AI is pre-running the MDMP, the science of command, what does that do to the human leader? Does it elevate the company commander to focus purely on the art of leadership morale, improvisation, reading the human enemy?
Or does it just give them less agency?
Exactly. When the AI is dictating the optimal fuel consumption rate, the synchronized fire window, the precise timing of an action, if the machine has optimized the science of war, what is left for the human to command? That is a profound question for you, the learner, to explore as this concept moves from white paper theory into reality.
Food for thought indeed.
Thank you for joining us for the deep dive.
Until next time.